Hello everyone, welcome to this 12th Research Symposium, Department of Languages and Cultures of Universidad de La Sabana, organized by the Master in English Language Teaching Autonomous Learning Environments, November 14th, 2015. Our research project is enhancement of spoken fluency through self-monitoring strategies and imaginative activities. And we are Viviana Belandia and Wilson Lopez. The agenda for this presentation is as follows. We are going to start with the context, then the needs analysis, the statement of the problem, the theoretical considerations around the project, the research design, the pedagogical implementation, references, and we will have a little time at the end to answer some questions. First of all, this research proposal was developed in two different state schools in Bogota, Colegio Aquileo Parra in a neighborhood called Verbenal in Usaquén, and Colegio Miguel Antonio Caro in Quirigua neighborhood in the locality of Engativá. The participants of this investigation were 8th graders aged between 14 and 18 years old from these two localities, Usaquén and Engativá. Each of these schools has 3 to 4 hours in English class per week. These participants were students from the afternoon shift, 25 students at Aquileo Parra School, and 21 at Miguel Antonio Caro. For our project, we considered language is a functional it's seen from two different points of view. Functional as a mean of communication, and from the interactional point of view, it is the channel to develop interpersonal relationships, as stated by Brown 2007 and Ellis in 1999. Learning is seen as a constructivist process in which imagination and self-monitoring strategies are the main pillars on which learners build knowledge. Learners are involved in a building up methodology that aims at consolidating meaning and understanding of the learning process. Curriculum is seen as the vision of the role of the teacher. It contemplates the role of the teacher as the curriculum developer, which involves planning of activities, preparation and selection of materials, adaptation of the materials to particular uses, and the division of those set materials in the classroom activities into steps and stages, as stated by Stern 1991. Curriculum is also seen here as where students are part of a scaffolding process that helps them building upon their current stage of learning. We have given a special relevance to the formative assessment, assessment understood, as Harlan stated it in 2007, as the process of evaluating the quality of learning. In the needs analysis, we initially inquired students to obtain from them what is a clear idea of what they were their interest in English. And we obtained clearer details about students' strengths and weaknesses and needs in regards to speaking. That was almost an unanimous answer when they decided that speaking was the skill that they were more interested in. So for that reason, we decided to design a questionnaire to ask for more details about this issue. After that, we applied a diagnosis speaking activity, which was evaluated through a rubric, and then it was seen that as speaking was the main aspect they were interested to develop, we identified that there were some issues related to pronunciation, vocabulary, but we especially evinced that they had a lot of mistakes that they thought they self-correct while speaking in English, but they were not really, that information was not true. They also expressed that they were interested in using English orally through funny and dynamic activities. So apart from that, the rubric evinced some difficulties in vocabulary, fluency and complete sentences, pronunciation, grammar, and self-correction. So we decided to focus on the problem of fluency related to the production of coherent sentences because the students rarely speak in complete sentences and ideas are expressed with long pauses. So most of the answers they gave were expressed with single words that were sometimes inaccurate, but they could achieve the purpose of communication.
Okay, taking into account what my colleague has presented, this research project decided to work on these main constructs. Fluency, um, taken as the natural language use occurring in meaningful interaction, as stated by Richards 2006, and also for those planning classroom activities in which students negotiate meaning, apply communication strategies, correct misunderstandings, and work to avoid communication breakdowns, develops fluency. It was stated by Richard 2006. The second main construct that we have taken into account is the one related to imaginative activities, defined as those techniques which can be used in conjunction with many styles of language teaching and at all levels, stated by Saddle 1982. Imaginative activities, as stated by Egan 2013, contemplates the definition of imagination. And Egan says that imagination is a good thing and it ought to be stimulated and also developed in education. Imagination is defined as a crucial feature of good teaching, and it is surprising to find it almost entirely ignored in research on teaching effectiveness. So that is one of the main reasons that we have taken into account to include imagination in our project. We were interested in implementing imaginative activities as a source to work in a different way, because in this case, fantasy becomes more important and reality less. This was the premise to understand imaginative activities as the opportunity to create, evoking students' talents to imagine fictional realities, situations in which they could become heroes and heroines, monsters, aliens, and they can work with context where they could go even if they do not exist. Also, those moments when they could become the owners of the world, where everything was possible, where they could be free and relieved of all daily commitments. And the final construct that we have taken into account is the one related to self-monitoring strategies. Self-monitoring strategies are part of learning strategies, which are defined as the thoughts and actions that the students use to complete a task successfully. Self-monitoring strategies are part of learning strategies, and those metacognitive strategies were included as an essential part of this proposal because they could be useful to help the students analyze their process by reflecting about their possible improvement in fluency. Metacognitive strategies are also defined as the way of being aware of what one is doing. It includes two strategies: monitoring comprehension and monitoring production, as it was stated by O'Malley and Chamot, 1994. Mm, Another important feature that must be taken into account when talking about self-monitoring strategies is that they involve specific characteristics as planning for learning, thinking about the learning, monitoring on production or comprehension, and self-evaluation after the learning activity has been completed. Our proposal sought to familiarize students with the self-monitoring strategies selected for the specific purpose of enhancing fluency. Our goal was that students appropriated self-monitoring strategies and found them effective to be successful in the improvement of their learning process. Well, concerning the research design that we have, the present research study follows the features of small-scale qualitative action research, understood as a process in which participants examine their own educational practice in a systematical way and being careful, using the techniques of research. One of the main advantages of doing action research is that being teachers, we become investigators or explorers of our own teaching context, where we identify and investigate a problematic and particular situation. Well, according to what we have mentioned, our research question is: how does using self-monitoring strategies and imaginative activities affect the spoken fluency of eighth graders with A1 according to the Common European Framework of Reference, English? Well, and our research objectives are the following. The first one is to enhance spoken fluency in eighth graders with A1 according to the Common European Framework of Reference, English, by using self-monitoring strategies and imaginative activities. And the second objective is to compare the impact self-monitoring strategies and imaginative activities could have on the participants of two state schools in Bogota.